Hey guys, welcome back to the DrCliffAuD vlog. This is vlog number 32. Of course, if you've missed any of my other vlogs, go back and check them out on my YouTube channel. But the main topic of what I want to talk about today is best practices. And specifically what I'm talking about are the processes and procedures that hearing care providers should be following in order to maximize your performance with hearing aids. Now, some of you might be aware that I actually have an approved provider network, which is a network of hearing care professionals who have committed to following best practices and acting in your best interest. But I don't really want to talk about them so much today. I want to talk about these best practices, and if you don't have a Dr. Cliff approved provider in your area, where can you actually go to ensure that you're going to receive a really high level of hearing care? Well, what I've actually done on my DrCliffAuD.com website is I've actually put up a checklist of different things, different best practices that you can actually take into a hearing care provider to make sure that they're actually doing all of the proper procedures. These checklists basically have every best practice procedure from the time that you go in for your initial consultation, to having your hearing test, to having a hearing aid evaluation to determine which technology is right for you, to the fitting sequence, the entire fitting sequence, as well as follow-up care with your devices from now until basically forever. The whole concept here is that you would be able to actually print these out and take them with you in to see your hearing care professional, or even use them to call around to find out who you want to go to. You can literally be like, do you perform this procedure, or do you do this? This is part of best practices. Do you actually do that inside of your clinic? And then see what they respond with. Now, this can be a little tricky because there are a ton of best practices in these checklists. And so they might do, some of them, but not all of them. They might do most of them, but not all of them. And so you really have to make an educated decision of whether or not that particular clinic is where you want to go based on how many best practices they actually follow. Now, I should say that just because a clinic follows best practices does not guarantee that they are going to be following those best practices correctly. You actually have to go to someone who knows what the heck they're doing, and the checklists are just there to provide a guide for you. Now, if you end up finding a hearing care professional who does all or most of these best practices, you can pretty well bet that they're probably going to be pretty adamant that they're doing them the right way. Now, what you don't want to fall victim to is going to a hearing care provider who says that they're doing all these things, but they don't actually do them. And that is why it's important to bring the checklists into the clinic with you so they can go over and you can check off each procedure that they've done, or they can check off the procedure they've done as they're doing it. This way you can feel comfortable that by the time you are done with your consultation appointment, with your hearing aid evaluation, with your hearing aid fitting, and all of the follow-up care that you receive, that you are actually receiving the highest level of hearing care possible. Now, people always ask me, Cliff, why do you care so much about best practices? And the answer is very simple. Best practices are the things that have been proven by research to improve hearing aid outcomes with individuals. So if you are not doing best practices, then you are not doing the things necessary to maximize treatment outcomes. Now, if you know me at all, you know that I believe that good is the enemy of great. And unless you have a hearing care provider who is striving to get you the most benefit out of your hearing aids, there is a solid chance that you will never achieve your highest level of outcome. And that's a shame, because the clinics that follow best practices and the clinics that do not follow best practices probably charge you very similar in terms of cost for your hearing treatment. So why wouldn't you want to go somewhere who's focused on getting you the best outcome possible compared to a place that's just trying to fit you with hearing aids and get you out the door? So this is a very simple pep talk for you. You should be committing a significant amount of your time to identify which hearing care providers are following best practices. And if you don't have a hearing care provider in your area that follows best practices, you need to strongly consider traveling to find someone who is following best practices. It is not unheard of to drive several hours to get to a provider who you know is going to be treating your hearing loss in the best way possible. Now, I've already mentioned that all of these checklists here are actually on my website, DrCliffAuD.com. Now, I recently had my website redesigned, and you can find these best practice checklists inside the resources tab on the website. I highly recommend that you physically print them out and take them with you in to see your hearing care provider, regardless of whether or not they're a Dr. Cliff approved provider or not. Now, if this is the first time that you're hearing about a Dr. Cliff approved provider, you can also check out a Dr. Cliff approved provider in your area by just going to the DrCliffAuD website and clicking on the Find a Provider tab. Alright guys, fairly simple video for today. I'm really hoping that in the next coming weeks, I'll be able to share a couple of updates on the new clinic progress. I think that we're getting close to being able to share those updates. And I'm also in the middle of training a new audiologist that I have on staff at my clinic. I think you are going to love him. He's going to start doing some video content with us as well, so you'll probably get to know him pretty well here in the near future. That being said, I hope you enjoyed the quick video for today. Go ahead and give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And as always, I'll see you next week.